In the early hours of April 27th, at La Cartuja, in Seville, the stadium witnessed not just Barcelona lifting the Copa del Rey trophy, but also a night where Real Madrid tarnished their own dignity in front of millions of eyes around the world. Even before the ball was kicked, Los Blancos had already backed themselves into a corner, refusing to hold a press conference, blocking access to their open training session, and coldly turning their backs on the traditions that mark a cup final. The peak of the controversy came when Real Madrid TV released a video openly criticizing referee Ricardo de Burgos just before the match, practically lighting the fuse for an explosive media storm. Once the game began, things only spiraled further downhill. Real Madrid played as if they were simply searching for an excuse to unleash their fury, with reckless fouls, challenging glares directed at opponents and officials. From Antonio Rodrygo to Lucas Vázquez to Jude Bellingham, one by one, they lost the composure usually expected of them. The online world did not let it slide. A tidal wave of memes, jokes, and edited videos flooded every platform. One Spanish newspaper bitterly labeled Real Madrid as Los Malos Perdidos, meaning the sore losers. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Hansi Flick calmly embraced his Barcelona players with a powerful message: football wins when referees are respected. That photograph captured the perfect contrast to Real's chaos. Real Madrid lost 2-3 against Barcelona in the 2025 Copa del Rey final. Yet their heaviest defeat was not on the pitch. It was a catastrophic blow to their image. Never in history had the Royal Club been criticized so brutally across the globe. From Twitter to Reddit, Real Madrid faced a relentless press of public outrage, mockery, scorn, and fury covered every platform. And this time, they had no one to blame but themselves. From the outset, Real Madrid had chosen to pick a fight with the world, from disrespecting traditions to fueling the fire with their controversial video targeting referee de Burgos. One prominent account described it as an embarrassing, disgraceful act, calling out President Florentino Perez for his habit of crying foul whenever he is losing, attracting more than 300,000 views within just a few hours. A chilling tweet from DVV Andaman cut even deeper. Today, Real Madrid not only lost the game, they lost their dignity. Yet the real disaster only began after kickoff. On the pitch at La Cartuja, Real Madrid played like a malfunctioning machine. Reckless tactical fouls, provocative stares, and one cheap shove after another. Under pressure and frustration, the club, once revered as the royalty of Europe, lost its soul. The grace and resilience that had defined Real Madrid for decades now seemed like a distant memory on one of their darkest nights. Real Madrid slipped from simmering anger into outright unacceptable behavior. Antonio Rodrygo hurled an ice pack directly at the referee. Lucas Vázquez abandoned the technical area to storm out in protest. Jude Bellingham barked furiously, his face flushed with anger. Every single 50-50 call went against us. On social media, Real Madrid, once a symbol of invincibility, became the poster child for grown men unable to accept defeat. The flood of memes and mocking headlines was unrelenting. A Spanish newspaper harshly branded them once again as Los Malos Perdidos, the terrible losers. In stark contrast, the image of Hansi Flick and Barcelona's young players lifting the Copa del Rey, handling themselves with calm and class, emphasizing football is a game and referees must be respected, only made Real's meltdown even more glaring. One side knew how to win and lose with dignity, the other was left to drown in ugly behavior, and it was inevitable that the court of public opinion would render a harsh judgment. 16 fouls committed by Real Madrid were just the tip of the iceberg. In truth, it was 120 minutes where they chose dirty tricks over class, rage over fighting spirit. The breaking point came in the 93rd minute when Rafinha raced clear towards goal, only to be brought down brutally by Marco Asensio inside the box. Referee Ricardo de Burgos initially pointed to the penalty spot, but after consulting VAR, he reversed his decision and astonishingly booked Rafinha for simulation. The chaos did not end there. Antonio Rodrygo stormed from the bench and hurled an ice pack at the referee in a fit of rage. Lucas Vázquez also left the technical area to confront the officials. Jude Bellingham angrily closed in on the referee and had to be physically restrained by his teammates to prevent an even greater disaster. According to Reuters, the red card Bellingham received after the match officially cited threatening behavior toward the referee. If losing a match was merely part of the sport, then losing dignity and honor was the real devastating blow. Real Madrid, once so proud under the banner of Hala Madrid, had shattered that very pride before the eyes of the world. Even worse, this was not an isolated incident. Rewind to the Champions League quarterfinals against Arsenal, and the cracks were already visible. Antonio Rodrygo delivered a brutal kick to the stomach of Lino Sousa, an 18-year-old Arsenal starlet, in a moment that bore no trace of fair play. Dani Carvajal, who was not even registered to play that night, stormed onto the pitch and grabbed Bukayo Saka by the neck. Jude Bellingham was accused of dirty tactics against Thomas Partey. Lucas Vázquez repeatedly launched dangerous tackles throughout the game. The final whistle at La Cartuja might have ended the match, but it only ignited a firestorm of global outrage. Antonio Rodrygo later issued a public apology on X, admitting, "There is no excuse for my behavior, but the damage to Real Madrid's reputation, dignity, and image was already irreversible." No matter how sincere the apology, it could not salvage a reputation that had crumbled. The international press exploded. The Guardian delivered a cold verdict. Real Madrid had lost their honor. The Telegraph did not hesitate to describe the fiasco as a death knell for a generation that never learned how to lose with grace. In just 10 days, Real Madrid suffered two devastating blows. First, they were dismantled by Arsenal in the Champions League quarterfinals. Then they collapsed in bitter defeat against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final. But the deepest wound was not just defeat, it was losing themselves. There was a time when even in failure, Real Madrid still carried the bearing of kings. But in 2025, they left the pitch trailing behind them red cards, scowling faces, and uncontrollable rage. A great club is defined not only by how it wins, but also by how it loses. And Real Madrid forgot that fundamental lesson. As the final whistle blew at La Cartuja, social media exploded into a storm. From neutral fans to former players to football pundits, everyone voiced their dismay at how Real Madrid had turned a grand final into a spectacle of petulance and disgrace. Antonio Rodrygo later posted another apology on X, saying, "There is no excuse for what I did last night. Apologies to the referee, apologies to the fans. But no apology could erase what had already been witnessed by millions." Major media outlets piled on. The Guardian was blunt. Real Madrid lost more than a trophy. They lost their spirit. The Telegraph declared with chilling finality, it was the end of a generation that never knew how to bow their heads in defeat. Indeed, what Real Madrid lost was not just the Copa del Rey trophy now in Barcelona's hands. They lost the image of a proud, resilient, legendary institution, a legacy that had taken decades to build. In just 10 days, a once proud Real Madrid crumbled into a broken shadow of itself. Even during the catastrophic 2018 season under Julen Lopetegui, Real Madrid had managed to maintain their dignity. But in 2025, they tore it apart with their own hands. This was no longer about tactical errors or loss of form. It was about a collective that had lost its honor, the very foundation that once built the legend of Real Madrid. That pride was betrayed not by outsiders, but by those who wore the sacred white shirt. The night of April 27th in Seville was not just about Barcelona lifting the Copa del Rey. It was the night the world witnessed Real Madrid shatter their own image into pieces. Titles can be reclaimed, prestige can be restored, but dignity once lost leaves a scar that never truly heals. And for those who truly love Real Madrid, they know deep down, losing on the pitch is painful, but losing your soul is something no trophy can ever repair.